Welcome to another episode of Stand on Guard. Happy Saturday. Hope you're enjoying the day. It was a little bit sunny, a little bit overcast here in Ottawa, but we're back. And I'll tell you what happened overnight after we did that report yesterday on CSIS. Although the whole report wasn't about CSIS, the last part was, and I'll tell you what happened.
So we are in a very precarious position in this country. We need political change, but we also need to resolve to resist.
Yes, Sasha always demonstrated. Please ring the bell, like the broadcast, preferably now, so we can beat the YouTube suppression, which has been horrible for the last two episodes. Wonder why. But thank you for subscribing and the numbers you have. We're just about hitting 25,000. I thought we could do it by May the 15th, but that was really a bit of a stretch. And we almost did. We're about 250 away from that. I think we'll make it easily, within the next couple of days. Then we can continue to attract more people. So tell your family and friends about this because YouTube definitely does suppress broadcasts and broadcasters who do more than just say Trudeau's a bad guy and it's all over for Justin Trudeau every episode. They don't mind that because they know that's really not going to be taken too seriously in the long run. You keep saying Justin Trudeau's resigning tomorrow when he has no intention of resigning. Well, sooner or later, you may be right. Because sooner or later, he will resign. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, and maybe not next week or month, but yeah, sooner or later, you're going to get the headline right. You know what they say about a broken clock is correct twice a day. So I laugh at some of these folks who just put out, absolute nonsense every time. But anyway, I guess there's room for all of us on here. I just try to give you serious journalism and the kind of reporting you need to know. So I've got Tamara Leach coming on board next week. She'll be joining the show on Tuesday. I have been desperately trying to get a number of conservative MPs on the show. This is just a little housekeeping I want to tell you about before we get into today's show. And it is like pulling teeth right now to get conservative MPs on board. Now, the last conservative MP I had was Michael Cooper, St. Albert, Edmonton, and the show went through the roof. Do you think that would be a nice incentive for others to come on and talk about what they're doing? Yeah, I occasionally take pokes at Polyev, and I consistently oppose the war in Ukraine, but there's a lot of things we have to agree on, and when they're doing good things, I praise them. So I don't know what the issue is. It never ceases to amaze me, how there's always the communication issues with the Conservative Party. They would rather talk to the CBC at times than they would small C libertarian media, small C conservative libertarian media. And I know why that is because I worked on the Hill for many years. They have a trepidation about saying anything to friendly media that's going to be overplayed by the mainstream media, that's going to make it into the legacy media, and it potentially could embarrass them because they're speaking things that we all know are true, but they might not want to say them publicly. So I think that might be an issue. I hope not. I hope not. And I don't want to say anything more about it. But as I was saying, we did that show yesterday, and it wasn't all about CSIS. I sort of tacked that on because I had just done a story for the Post Millennial on how CSIS is spying on you and I, spying on parents who are opposed to gender ideology, spying on parents who don't swallow hook, line, and sinker the whole LGBTQ agenda, who aren't excited about Pride season. Yes, now it's Pride season, who aren't excited about the government giving away millions, tens of millions of dollars to people who are actively opposed to the traditional family and traditional parents, be they Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Sikh or Hindu. I don't care what the religion is, but we all share a basic value that parents should be rearing and raising children, not the state. All of these religions hold that dear, and they believe that they should be raising their children in the faith of the family. And the state should not be telling children what to believe. The state should not be indoctrinating children in terms of religion, faith, morals, or ideology. They should be focusing on education in terms of being able to read, write, understand history, and all the other skills and education that go from grades 1 to 12. Yeah. So, but that's not what they're doing, of course. They want to indoctrinate children, and that's a real problem. So anyway, I had 5 viruses this morning from people, well, 5 people trying to transmit viruses to me via my X account this morning. I kid you not. 5 of them. Where did those come from? Is this a weird coincidence that I would do a report on CSIS targeting parents as domestic terrorists and a threat to national security and people who are going to be potentially exercising violent extremist behavior? Is it a coincidence I would have 5 attempts this morning to transmit a virus to my X account? Well, I'm just wondering because that's what I woke up to, and it continued for a couple of hours this morning. So interesting, isn't it? So, what's Trudeau's latest obsession? What did they talk about yesterday? And we'll get back to CSIS in a minute, but I find this absolutely fascinating because Trudeau is now telling Canadians, stay away from TikTok. TikTok is bad, which is exactly where they went in the United States. Now, let's listen to Trudeau for a minute, and let me tell you what he's really saying here.
CSIS Director David Vigneault is warning Canadians against using TikTok in light of his comments and what he knows about how it operates. Do you think TikTok is safe for Canadians, and do you see a role for government in regulating TikTok?
Well, obviously, as a government, we lean heavily on CSIS and our intelligence agencies to keep Canadians safe. And when the director of CSIS is pointing out that TikTok poses a real threat to the data security of Canadians, I think Canadians need to listen. Obviously, we already took measures as a government to ensure that all federal computers and phones do not have the TikTok app applied to them. That's a risk that we don't want for our government, but I know more organizations and orders of governments are looking at that very seriously as well. We need to continue to have a conversation with Canadians about how they remain safe online. Yes, there's a role for government, and we'll continue to consult and work with Canadians on that. It's important that we empower Canadians to make smarter choices about keeping themselves and their families safe online. That's one of the reasons why we're moving forward with an Online Harms Act focused on keeping kids safe and making sure that our online world is as safe or even safer than our in real life world.
In the first place, Justin Trudeau is not relying on CSIS when they tell him about Chinese election interference. He can't even be bothered to read the memos. So how is this clown suggesting he relies on CSIS? Well, I'll tell you how in a minute, because he's going to be relying on CSIS to go after his political enemies. That's the name of the game. But how come TikTok is suddenly enemy number 1, public enemy number 1 in terms of social media? Maybe because the United States is moving to ban it. Maybe because it's the beginning of a general clampdown on all social media. And he makes reference to the Online Harms Act. Yeah, he's a pretty stupid man to basically let the cat out of the bag by admitting this is not just about TikTok, it's about all social media, which he plans to either restrict or eventually ban by imposing financial restrictions, financial punishment upon these social media companies through the Online Harms Act. The point of the Online Harms Act is not to protect children. We already have laws in place to protect children from child pornography, to protect adults from revenge porn. This is all a facade, and a pretty stupid one at that. Anyone with half a brain realizes we already have the laws in place to combat this kind of behavior, this kind of problem. The Online Harms Act is all about censorship, capital C, clear and simple. That's what this act is about. It's all about establishing another layer of bureaucracy to oversee it, to establish an online censorship czar, and to actually put people under house arrest for thought crimes because your neighbor down the street doesn't like you and decides you might be thinking about committing a hate crime. So I think this guy should maybe be reported to the police or to the Thought Crimes Commission. So that's what the Online Harms Act is all about. Trudeau is lying when he tells you it's about protecting children. Children are already protected. We don't need another censorship law to do that. Canadians need to know that. Need to know that because he's talking about this act like it's a done deal now, and that's bad. That's very bad. My question, though, about TikTok. Okay, so CSIS says it might be compromised by the Chinese. Well, yeah. But when was that a problem for Justin Trudeau? How come it wasn't a problem when we had Chinese spies working in the Winnipeg biolab and sending back samples of their research and documents back to China? How come nothing was done about that for 2 years? How come Trudeau obviously must have known about this, but did nothing about it? Then tried to cover it up, then tried to bury the evidence. And now it looks like the committee that was examining and assessing this situation is going to be muzzled and strangled by the Liberal NDP majority on the committee. Trudeau does not want it coming out that he was probably aware of what these spies were doing. And I believe he was expecting a quid pro quo in terms of assistance from the Chinese in the upcoming election. He knew election interference was coming and he welcomed it. I believe that. And I think that's why Trudeau does not want this uncovered. But how come that's okay? China's fine there. Trudeau has said he respects, he admires China above any other nation because it's a basic dictatorship that can turn its economy around on a dime. I don't even need speaking notes to say that because I've said it so often. I've quoted Justin Trudeau so often saying that. He said that at a Liberal fundraiser before he was Prime Minister, and he's never renounced it. He keeps asking Poilievre to renounce things he never said or did, such as supposedly courting Diagolon or white supremacists. Pierre Poilievre has never courted white supremacists, so he has nothing to renounce. Justin Trudeau has courted communist China. He has something to renounce. So now it's all about TikTok, is it? Don't give me this. Don't try to convince me that Trudeau's suddenly worried about China interfering in Canadian domestic politics or elections, or TikTok is going to compromise the security of Canadians. I don't believe it. I don't believe it for a minute. It's all about restricting social media platforms. He's going to start with TikTok because that's the easiest. That's the most vulnerable. His Online Harms Act is going to punish social media companies that supposedly transmit any kind of material that the online censorship czar deems to be hateful or hate speech, up to 8% of their global gross revenues. So that's how he's going to shut down social media companies, not just TikTok. It's just going to start with TikTok. That's the example. Now, how do I know that? Well, because Trudeau's forging a unique alliance with the Canadian Security Intelligence Service. After not listening to CSIS about Chinese election interference, it went in one ear and out the other, apparently. Now he's got CSIS lined up doing his work. And I read from this report yesterday. I'm going to read briefly from it again because, folks, this is shocking. Because this report has created two classifications of extremist threats. One is the religiously motivated violent extremists, and the other is individually motivated violent extremists. And according to CSIS, these groups work together, and they all seem to be anti-gender ideology. And the report states the anti-gender movement falls within the gender identity-driven violence category of individually motivated violent extremists and is defined as the ideological opposition to the socio-cultural shifts that are represented by the integration and acceptance of gender theory, including acceptance of the 2S LGBTQIA plus community. So, what does this mean? You don't accept gender ideology? My God, you're a dinosaur. You're not accepting the way ahead. You're not accepting what is now science. BS. It's not science. It is barbarism, this gender ideology that suggests it's more fitting to give sex change operations to 12-year-olds, and that's somehow going to make them less vulnerable? BS. But Trudeau is using these organizations. So this is why Justin Trudeau warns Canadians, to listen to CSIS. CSIS is now the authority. CSIS is now the place where Justin Trudeau goes to get his intelligence because they revealed in their 2023 report that they are going to go after Justin Trudeau's political enemies. And that includes people opposed to the whole Pride season agenda, to all of the gender ideology, anybody who doesn't think it's gender affirming care to give kids hormone blockers or sex change operations and to allow kids to change their pronouns without even telling their parents. That is absolute rubbish. But those are now the enemies of not only Justin Trudeau, but Canada and the state, because CSIS is going after them. What do you bet the anti-abortion activists will be next? Pro-lifers? Yep. They are domestic terrorists too, according to Justin Trudeau. And I was talking all week about Justin Trudeau making a complete ass of himself, suggesting that Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives have some hidden agenda, secret agenda to make abortion criminal, or to create some kind of legislation on abortion. Poilievre has said on a number of occasions he had no intention of doing that. I disagree with him on that, but that's the record. So Chris Selly of the National Post picked up on exactly what I've been saying all week. Trudeau's abortion stick reaches new lows. Yeah, it sure as hell does. It has reached new lows, and I'm going to show you a clip in a minute from his partner in crime, Chrystia Freeland, the finance minister, deputy prime minister. But for Trudeau to suggest for a minute that there's something nefarious about even wanting to have some kind of abortion law in this country, to make that somehow to be akin to opposing the laws of the state, to suggest there's something odious about that, and it's disgraceful, just indicates that Justin Trudeau is projecting his own disgrace, his own embarrassment, his own humiliation on other people, as usual, because he's the one who did blackface for his entire adult life and has the gall to call other people he disagrees with racists and white supremacists. He's the one who says, Canada doesn't have an abortion law. That's a good thing. And if you think we should have an abortion law, if you think there's something wrong with having an abortion when the child is ready to be born, if you think there's something wrong with that, you're the one with the problem, Justin Trudeau says. I'm sorry, Justin Trudeau, you're the one with the problem. Because there is something absolutely horrible about that. And as I say so many times, the pro-abortion people used to always say abortion should be safe, legal, and rare. Now they celebrate abortion like it's something that should happen every day and that it's something a woman should be proud of. Talk to people who have abortions. I don't know any of them who talk about it in a fashion that suggests they would want to do it again. Wherever you stand on this issue, it is not a process. It is not a medical procedure that should be celebrated as liberating, that should be celebrated as a fundamental right. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in the Charter of Rights. Let's listen to Chrystia Freeland hold forth. This is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. But this is where the Liberal government is.
Prime Minister and Minister of Finance.
Mr. Speaker, I am really delighted to hear the Conservative House Leader talk about the rights of Canadians and how important they are. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, and let me tell you what the most fundamental right of every woman and girl in Canada is.
Abortion is a fundamental. That's the fundamental.
Your own body. It is time for the
Did you hear this?
To stand up and clearly say, are they going to defend a woman's right to choose? Because what we're hearing from them is they want to end it.
All right. Did you hear that? All right. So abortion is the most fundamental right for women in Canada. Not freedom of speech, not freedom of religion, not freedom of assembly. It's abortion. Sorry, Chrystia. It's not even in the Constitution. It's not in the Charter of Rights. So you are full of, shall we say, BS. That is utter nonsense. But that's what the Liberal Party believes. And they want to get Canadians so afraid that somehow we're going to lose our abortion rights under Pierre Poilievre that we'll forget everything else that Justin Trudeau has done to this country. I don't think it's going to work. I don't, because not only does Poilievre have no intention of even doing that, Canadians know the Liberals try this every election. It doesn't matter who's leading the Conservative Party. It doesn't matter whether it was Stephen Harper or any of the other leaders that replaced him up until Poilievre. It doesn't matter because none of them have ever said they have any plans to do anything about abortion in this country. I think that's unfortunate, but those are the facts. And it's the Liberals who want to keep us in this twilight zone of having absolutely no legislation, no law regulating abortion in this country. And that is a sad fact of Canada right now. But it's the Liberals who are once again absolutely acting like idiots. And as the National Post column says, this is just Trudeau's latest shtick. He does it all the time. As soon as he's cornered, it becomes all about so-called reproductive rights. Once again, there's no such thing as reproductive rights in the Constitution or the Charter of Rights. Trudeau imagines there is something referring to that. So that's where we're at. You know, it sickens me that Trudeau is reaching new lows with this, trying to scare people, but he'll do what he can. He always does. And we need to be very cautious right now about where Justin Trudeau is going on social media platforms, how he's trying to ban them, discourage them, restrict them. And I think it's very dangerous. He now seems to be in sync with CSIS because CSIS has now offered to harass, to punish, to survey and spy on Trudeau's political enemies. So now they're in unison. And now CSIS is an organization, an institution, an agency that he trusts because they're doing his bidding. Thanks for watching today, folks. We will be back perhaps tomorrow, but definitely by Monday. And next week, question period is back, so we'll be doing that live. Thank you so much for watching. And have a great weekend. Thank you for watching this episode of Stand on Guard. and being a part of the Krayden'S Right channel. If you've watched this episode to this point, you've watched it all. And that's really important for a small station like this. We always say subscribe, hit the bell, be a part of the Krayden resistance. Resolve to resist. That's what we're doing. And if you become a subscriber, if you're a supporter of this station or a member through Substack, through YouTube, and now you can be a local as well, that's so important to us because I couldn't do this without you. I made a decision to become an independent journalist about a year ago because I wanted to bring all of my experience in the military, in journalism, to you. I don't promise anything I can't deliver. I don't offer clickbait. I offer truth. The truth is out there. And it's my job to bring that truth to light and to you. Thanks for being a part of the Krayden